Welcome to Metaphysical Hippie Chicks 2.0, where open minds meet and every conversation weaves another thread into the fabric of reality, seen and unseen. I'm your host, Susanna Messeri, psychic medium and author of Living Beyond Death. My co-hosts are Annalisa Bastiani and Terry Scalia. Join us as we journey through consciousness, mediumship, channeling, and authentic and sustaining spirituality. So let's get busy with some soul work and raise our consciousness together. Hello, friends. I'm Susanna Messeri, psychic medium, author, and death doula. I'm here with my besties, Annalisa Bastiani and Terry Scalia, and our special guest, Courtney Bowman. And today we're going to be talking about death and grief. But before we begin, we would want to advise that this conversation includes themes of death, grief, loss, and a reading for our guest if she so chooses. This is a tender topic, especially for those who are newly grieving. So please take care of yourself while listening. Pause, step away, or skip this episode if needed. Our guest is sharing from her lived experience, and there is no expectation of healing, any insight, or resolution here, only honesty. You are welcome to listen in whatever way feels safest and best for you. We are not therapists, scientists, and readings should never replace legal, medical, or psychiatric advice. So Courtney, we would love to welcome you. Thank you so much for being here today and talking about the death of your husband and your grief and what you're going through. We really
Thank you for having me.
So my first question is there anything you would like listeners to understand about where you are in grief today?
So I'm not that far out from his passing, but I've had other deaths in my past, but this one was like completely different. The grief it's a different form of grief. I've lost my mom and, both of my grandmothers and that type of things. But this grief is like a grief that until you've experienced, I don't think you can understand it fully. I have chosen some of the best advice I've gotten in through all of this is kind of where I stand today is put on your shoes every day. I choose to get dressed. I choose to go to work. I choose to live my life. And so I went to give kind of an idea. I went to the bank the other day to close an account and the lady's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry for your loss. It'll get easier." And I just looked at her and I said, "No, actually, it doesn't get easier. The waves of grief come further and further apart." So in the first few weeks after his passing, I was just a mess. I mean, every 5 minutes, boohooing my eyes out, trying to figure out how I'm going to make it for the next hour. But now I have my moments during the day. I will give myself 20 minutes a day just to be in that process and not forget that I still am healing myself and honor him during that time. But it's something I can't even begin to explain. And as time goes on, like I said, the waves get further apart, but the actual feelings of grief, I do not believe diminish. You're able to handle them and compartmentalize them a little bit differently. My aunt told me right after he passed away, she said, "You have two options at this point in your life. You can either choose to live your life or you can choose to live in grief. And you'll make that decision. And either decision is right, but do what's best for you." And at first I kind of was like, "Oh, that really sounds harsh." But then the more I thought about it is, would he want me ultimately to sit around and mope and grieve him for the rest of my life? Or would he want me to follow the dreams that we had together and him just in another space with me in those dreams? And so it's not that I can say that I'm anywhere near through the grief process by any means, but I've learned how to get up in the morning and go to work and figure out, if something happens, my whole world doesn't come crashing down. And he was sick for a while, so I had some anticipatory grief beforehand, but it's not the actual grief after his death, if that makes sense.
It's like grieving twice.
Yep.
Yes. And the thing is, a lot of people don't realize when you have somebody who's chronically ill, there's a like panic every time I would leave the house. When he wouldn't answer his phone, I'm like, am I going to come back and he's not going to be alive? Am I going to wake up this morning? He's out of bed before me. Am I going to go out there and find him dead in his chair? And I never would say those things to him at that time. But after he was gone, I was like almost kind of upset with myself because this is people don't like talking about this because this is unheard, unseen territory. There was a sense of freedom I had because I didn't have to have that portion of the world of grief anymore. You know, the worst thing that could ever happen in my life had already happened to me. And so I knew that I could actually take a breath, sit back and say, you know what, nothing else really bad can happen at this point because it's happened. And I felt really guilty about that for a long time. And I was like, it was just one of those things that like, I want the world to know that if you do sense a feeling of freedom after someone passes, it's not a horrible thing to feel because you've kind of like experienced the absolute worst thing that you could ever experience in your entire life. So there was that portion of it. And then there was the portion that I felt really guilty for because I was so happy for him. And I remember telling my doctor, I was like, I'm sad he's gone, but this unselfish side of me is thrilled to death for him. He's no longer suffering. He's not in pain. He is free. And she's like, yeah, but you still have to think about yourself and the sadness. And I was like, but there wasn't that. And I remember somebody telling me that that's not a horrible thing to happen, that you actually, when my mom passed away, she was sick too. And I had that same feeling of like, I almost wanted to celebrate her death because I knew that her body no longer contained her. And so that's something people don't like to talk about, that you can actually almost have a sense of joy for them, that they're free of the ailments that had them. And so that's one of those things that's kind of like taboo in our society to talk about. But with that portion of it, I think it helped me in some of the grieving process. But grief is something, it takes up every aspect of your life. It doesn't just it's not just your heart. It's not just your head. I mean, it is your physical body. It is the way you look at the world. It is the way that you perceive situations. I mean, like yesterday, for instance, I was in the grocery store and I see this couple, they're about our age, and I'm like, she's yelling at him about something, and I just wanted to stop her and be like, he could be gone. Think about it, And so those situations are kind of really still fresh, and I'm just like, people just need to take a minute and realize life is not guaranteed to us. It's not guaranteed for tomorrow. And so I do see those situations that are very, very, very difficult for some people. And I see a young couple, and I'm just like, y'all know that eventually you will separate from each other, So that part of grief is still active in my mind, very, very active in my mind. And I know I had spoken with you earlier. One of my big concerns in moving forward in my grieving process is I don't want the world to forget him. I don't want the world to forget who he was. And so there's a portion of me that's like, well, if I choose to move on in my grief process, am I going to allow the world to forget who he was? And I just have to sit there and, day after day and tell myself, no, I will keep that memory alive by doing things like this. And so that's very difficult in the grief process too, because you don't want the world to forget who they were while you're trying to rediscover yourself as well. So it's definitely an interesting journey, but one that until you're on that journey, there's nothing like it. I can't even explain it.
That's a large part of why we're here today, is to honor your husband.
Yeah.
And everything that you have felt and are feeling is normal. It's so normal to feel that relief. Mm-hmm. And so many people feel guilty about it. And that,
yes,
like you said, is we don't talk about that. Mm-hmm. And it's not, a person isn't a bad person or anything else when they feel that sense of relief, but it sure does mess up things, in the heart
Mm-hmm.
and in the mind. And I'm wondering, how did you feel in the first few days? What was going on in your body? Do you remember how your body felt?
I was completely numb. Right after, because he was on life support, and so right after he passed, I remember I felt bad because my mother-in-law was with me and it was her child, and I just, I didn't want to leave the room, and so I was just trying to mess around, just, even though he was gone, it was just kind of I needed that hour and a half with his body. Just this is my closure, because I knew that would probably be the last time I would see his physical body, because we had made arrangements for cremation and stuff like that. And so I was just in there, and I was I really wasn't crying at that time. I was just kind of numb. And I went ahead and I did that. I cut pieces of his hair and I did that kind of stuff. The drive home, I don't remember much of at all. I know I lost 25 pounds in the first 2 weeks because I literally could not eat. I mean, it was just if I tried, I couldn't even swallow. I had taken some leave from work, and I had some really good friends that we called. They were very good about not intruding on me, but making sure I was okay. And that first week, it was just complete numbness. Like not even believing. I'd never been scared of the dark a day in my life. And I remember the first night I came home, I was like, I can't turn these lights off. Why? I don't know. And I slept with every single light in the house on. And it took me probably 2 weeks to be comfortable being in my room with the light off. I don't know if there was some type of I wasn't afraid of somebody coming in, or I don't know what that was. And maybe it was I didn't want to be in the dark because I felt like maybe that would darken my spirit. I had a lot of signs from him, that first week and a half to 2 weeks that he was gone. I still to this day have them, but it was very, very evident that he was with me. I could literally feel him right behind me. And I just, the amount of support from my family and things like that kind of got me through to the point that I could begin to feel. And then once I began to actually feel, it was just this horrible flood of emotion. And I remember going to my doctor. It's been a couple weeks because I hadn't been able to sleep. And I was in there, and I went to tell her he had passed away, and I just fell apart. And so she's like, okay, well, I don't want to ask anything else because I don't want you to be upset any longer. And I was just like, I know you didn't just cut me short like that because I just lost my husband, but she didn't know how to deal with the grief. She had absolutely no clue. And then when I actually did decide to go back to work, I had asked them no cards, no flowers, let's just go on with our lives. And I remember everybody, if they saw me coming, they would go the opposite direction. Nobody had any clue what to say to me. And one of the managers I work with, because I'm actually the head manager, she came to me and she's like, everybody's come to me and said they don't know what to say. And in this society, we don't know what to say to somebody who's lost somebody who's deeply in that grief process, because we don't want to say something and then make them cry. And I can remember making phone calls, for different things, and people are like, oh, I'm so sorry for your loss. And I'm thinking to myself, please don't tell me that, because you didn't know him. You're really not. It's those words sometimes that we say in society that we think are condolences, are actually almost insulting to the person who just lost somebody. But it was we as a society do not know how to deal with grief and death. I think we choose to kind of overlook it, and it's easier to ignore it than it is to actually say something to somebody. So the first couple of weeks was really, really intense. I don't remember a lot of those days. I do know that one thing I did was I chose to go out every single day. No matter what, I put my makeup on, I put my shoes on. I don't care if I just drove to the grocery store and came home, because I had to have that break away. I can't stay in these four walls my entire life. I have to break loose. And so that was one thing, trying to find where my outlet was during that time of just devastation, actually, because we had been together for 27 years when he passed away. So I'd actually been married longer than I had not been married. And so it was tough. It was really tough.
What would you like to hear from people instead of the rote sayings that we have? You know, I'm sorry for your loss. And people really don't know what to say.
They really don't know what to say. I think it's one of those things that, you know, like, I think sometimes it's like, you know, even, and you can't understand it till you've been there, but like, even like the lady in the bank would it have been better for her to tell me, instead of telling me, oh, it gets easier with time. It doesn't get easier with time, but like I said, they spread apart, and maybe it would be better just to be like, you know, like, actually the greatest thing people can say to me sometimes is, I really admire how well you've done, because that's a big thing for me. Like, I am able to do things like this. I mean, I'm less than 4 months out from his death. And like, even last night I told my mother-in-law, I said, I think I've done a really good job in getting to where I am. And she's like, you've done a fabulous job. Sometimes like that, maybe just saying, you know, I know it's hard, but it looks like you're doing well with where you are. And those things I think are a little more encouraging than the cliche things that we say in society. And you know, you can always just treat somebody like they're just normal, not like all of a sudden they became taboo, like at work, and I would see them coming in and they would run the other direction. And I'm like, why don't they just come up and say good morning like they would have before? So it's those kinds of things that I think our society is so scared of death and scared of the feelings that come behind it that we choose to ignore it or use cliche things or not address it in a sense of, somebody's doing a good job. If they're not, you know, is there anything I can help you with? You know, like those types of situations. And I don't know what the ultimate magic statement for it is. And maybe that doesn't bother some people, but that was one of the big things that bothered me.
Would you feel comfortable sharing some of your experiences with receiving signs?
Yeah. So I've always been one who has been interested in after death communication and things like that. And so when my mom passed away, she had sent me some signs along the way, but they were few and far between. But he died at like 11, almost noon. And I came home and I remember sitting on my bed about 5, 6 o'clock that evening. And all of a sudden I just watched, I had a really heavy comforter, and I just watched my comforter rise and fall. And I looked because I thought maybe one of my dogs was under it. And I was like, no, all 3 of the dogs were asleep on his side of the bed. And I was just like, no. And at first I thought I was hallucinating. And I was like, no. And then all of a sudden I just very quiet and peaceful. And I was like, that was him. I have found from coins, I think probably the most interesting one was I've gotten where I ask for very specific things now because, you know, to say, oh, well, can you leave me a dime? I mean, I asked him that and he left me 7 dimes in 1 week. So that was really cool. But I asked him for my birthday. I said, I want a blue butterfly. And in my mind, I could see this butterfly. It wasn't quite like a monarch, but I could see it. And I even told my mother-in-law, I said, this is the color I want this butterfly to be when I find it. And I'm thinking, this is December. I'm never going to find a blue butterfly, but let's see what happens. And so a couple days went by and I was like, okay. So then I went down to see my brother, and I'm in a store and I turn around and here's this picture of this blue butterfly with this saying on the bottom, you know, it says, with my painted wings, please stand beside me as I walk. And I was like, I turned around, I was like, oh my God, there is my blue butterfly, the exact butterfly I had pictured. It took a little bit, but I finally got it. And then I rewrote the story because I have a whole science book. I have an entire science book with probably 75 signs in it in less than 4 months from him. I actually wrote the painted wings. I wrote the painted wife, please be by my side. And I didn't realize it until I rewrote the story. That was his fingers rewriting that story for me. I asked him one day, I said, I need a Captain America. Don't know why, but it just came out. And I'm thinking, I'll see a captain with maybe an America sign, something. Sure enough, I go in Walmart and I'm walking down the clearance aisle and there's my little figurine, Captain America, on clearance. No other Marvel characters or whatever. So I've had some really, really beautiful experiences with him. And it's just been, for me, those are so comforting because not only that, I just know that he's there. I've had him, I woke up in bed one night and I sat up and all of a sudden I just felt his arms like come in behind me. And I was like, oh my God, that was literally a hug from him. And then I had a dream. He came to me in a dream and he was so excited. He's like, I'm happy, I'm healthy. And just those things, it does let you know that there is so much more in this life. And so I think sometimes because I'm one of these people, I'm very analytical, I have to have proof. You have to show me the proof. And so I think with him, he knew that. And so he's been really, really, really amazing in sending them down to the dimes. His niece, who lives in Indiana, she mailed me a Christmas present. And on it, she didn't know anything about the dime story. She made me like a little bracelet and she glued a dime to it. And it fell off in the box, but the box had chocolates and I was cutting up and the dime fell in the sink. And so I called her and I asked her, I said, you put a dime on my thing? And she said, yeah. And I said, why did you do that? She says, well, I found it and I thought you needed more money. And I was like, you even sent it through your niece. It was just amazing. So some of the stories are beautiful. And, those have helped me in my grief process too. Been a big avenue. I did a lot of journaling to get through my grief too. I used to journal every day, but part of kind of where I've advanced a little bit is I feel like I can journal every other day now. Not that I don't enjoy journaling every day, but for me, it's a step forward that I don't have to divulge all of that every single day anymore. It's kind of like I'm able to move up in the world a little bit. So those are some of the signs that I've gotten from him.
I think your little book of signs is a great idea.
Yeah. So it's just like, it's my younger brother for my birthday couldn't figure out what to buy me. And so it is, you put like, Pokemon cards and stuff in it. So I got the Pokemon cards and then I put a little saying like with every single thing that happens. So I have it. And then when I want to, I can go back in, I can pull them out, I can look at them. This book's just about full and I've got a few more I haven't put in here. But the things that I found or I asked for, what was the story behind it? And if it's too big to put in here, then I'll take a picture and copy it. And then I put it in there with the story. And it's just a nice place that I have that I can carry this with me at all times if I want to, or it's a place I don't have to worry and I can look back because there's been so many signs, honestly. I don't remember all of them anymore. I mean, like this one, I just flipped it open. I went to the grocery store, this one here, like shortly after he passed away. I mean, like a couple days. And it was just a card I saw and it was like, to my best friend who's loved me through it all. And so a lot of those I don't remember as much anymore. So it's nice that I've been able to keep it because you think when they happen that you'll remember each and every one of them, but you don't because there's so many of them. The other thing I have learned in my experience is that you have to be open to them. You have to look for them. You can't just think, oh, he's going to jump around the corner and go boo and say, I'm here. If you ask for something, you actively have to look at the ground while you're walking. You have to look and see, if I could have easily turned the other direction and not seen the picture on the shelf, or I could have looked up and looked down and not paid attention. So you do have to kind of open your mind that when they are trying to communicate with us, that we are able to accept those signs and then not self-doubt them, because that was a big thing in the beginning with me is, oh, well, yeah, I found that dime, but I could have found that anywhere. Okay, well, but I found 7 dimes in 1 week. There's no way you can ignore the coincidences. And you just have to acknowledge that, yes, that was from them. That was their way of trying to tell you, I'm with you.
That was one of the things that came through in the reading was to look at the ground, keep looking at the ground.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that. And you said most of your signs you find on the ground.
Yeah, almost all of them. The only one I've found is like 2 on shelves. The rest of them I have found on the ground.
The messages that you get from him are just amazing.
They're amazing. And I hope everybody has that experience of having at least a couple of them because it's very comforting. It is very comforting.
Are you open to having the 3 of us be involved in doing a reading for you here?
I would love to.
Okay, that would be great.
He's definitely here.
I'm going to have Annalisa start things off, but while you were speaking, maybe about 5 minutes ago, I felt your husband, and what I got from him was that he wants you to know how proud he is of you, and that not to forget that you are a very powerful woman. That brings...
Yeah, we're getting choked.
Makes me want to cry.
Yeah.
He came through dancing, like just bouncing up and down, dancing. I'm free. Hello. It was like he's happy to be here, but his personality seems really like bright and shiny and like I just get dancing from him. I also, for some reason, want you to pay attention to feathers now. You've got a lot of dimes. Now I'm feeling like feathers have something to do with this, but I don't know if that means anything to you.
I've gotten feathers too.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I've gotten feathers too. And I mean, like when you say he's proud of me, he was my biggest support. He was my biggest advocate. I mean, you can even ask his mother. There was nobody who was any prouder of anybody than he was of me.
No.
And continues to be.
Yeah.
I'm going to get
the
you
interesting
up
thing
here.
about him dancing is he was actually a double amputee.
Oh, so now he can. Now he can.
Oh, God,
Excellent.
that makes such perfect sense.
Makes perfect sense because it's like bounce, bounce, bounce.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Amazing.
He's got great energy. And he's funny. Was he funny?
Yeah. He was a life of every party.
He's a comedian, yeah.
I think he thought he was funnier than sometimes he actually was, but yeah, he was a life of every party.
But his whole purpose was to uplift everyone around him. I mean, I feel like he knew that was his goal, to just, make somebody feel lighter.
Is there anything that you would like to do, Annalisa, with your cards?
I did bring my cards. I'm in my own room. So let me check. Usually I do mediumship without the cards, but with the cards you can also connect. So it says that you've been working extremely hard, and there is a moment of reflection on what you have, what you've acquired, what is supporting you. And kind of in the future, it says that there's going to be more of it in a very positive way. I don't know if you're ready to hear this or not. There's also going to be a possibility of love again, if you allow it. And it's literally a possibility of marriage if you allow it. So I'm not sure if that is too soon to say anything, but for some reason he wants me to bring that up.
We always had the conversations because he was chronically sick that neither one of us would want the other one not to find happiness if something ever happened.
Mm.
I don't see if, in the near future, but
Or not.
I can't say I would be opposed to it. When he first passed away, I was like, absolutely not, because I never want to experience this pain again as long as I live. I would rather stay single for the rest of my life. But there's the other side of that we did have such a great relationship that I miss so much that I think I would trade the pain for a situation if I could find somebody that I loved as much as I loved him, but in a different sense. I will always love him, but in a different sense, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It'll probably be a completely different kind of relationship in that it won't be the exact same because what you had was so unique. But I think the option is there. It's basically what it's saying. It's not something that I don't believe anything in the future is set in stone. So that's why I'm saying it in a potential way. Because I don't believe that things that I get in a reading are the absolute. Everything can change. Everything can be modified. Let's see. It's funny because he's coming through with the notion of being a king. I don't know if that had anything to do with what he was like on Earth, but there's something in regal. Maybe it's in his direction. Maybe in the way he's directing. It's in the way he's directing things from up there. Okay. So it's a joke. He's kind of being the king of what he sees, the king of everything that's going on. So he's putting on a crown. It's really funny. It's fun for him to help people from the other side. It's fun for him to stick around you, obviously, from the other side. But he actually has a purpose, and part of that purpose is kind of directing things a little bit. So, I'm going to help them get together. I'm going to help this thing work out, and I'm going to, whatever he can do, whatever he's allowed to do, he's really happy and kind of excited about interfering. He's using the word interfering. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I mean, he just loved life. He truly loved life. Yeah, I can understand that, definitely. He's a beautiful, I mean, like, he was in sales, so he loved doing stuff all the time. I mean, that was just him. I mean, he loved putting people together and putting people together with their dreams. I mean, he sold motorcycles for a living, so like that would definitely be him. And the fact that he loved doing things for people and being around and everything else. So, and the sad part, I watched him in the last years of his life slowly die over time. But yeah, he was an amazing person. He really was. So I can see him up there doing that. I can definitely see that.
He's still connecting people. He's still connecting experiences. It's funny, I go from cards right into mediumship. He knows that there's a lot that you're still going through, and honestly, it's not going to feel great. It's obviously not going to be like a quick fix, but you are navigating things so well that he wants you to consider writing a book about it.
Oh, I was just getting that. I wrote it down in my notes. that you, when you go through all of this, because you're going to ride the waves very, very well and navigate everything very, very well. And when you feel comfortable and you're ready to write a book on grief and signs, and it can be a small pocket book, or it can be a larger book, not very thick, and put all of your signs in there, or have a book of signs. Something like, it was so funny because
same thing.
Wrote the same thing down.
So crazy because now I'm getting super chilled. Like I'm like got, chicken skin, and he's pretty strong. So he's going to be the co-author of this book, by the way.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. And in doing that, he wants you to kind of be open to opening up your abilities,
which is something I would love to do. I spend a lot of time trying to communicate with him, and I feel like I do communicate with him, but not to the degree, but I still feel like kind of maybe a little bit of the grief process is too strong right this minute for me to be able to kind of move forward. I work in the healthcare profession. I work around a lot of death, and I work around a situation like I know I have those abilities. I've lived my entire nursing career on intuition. I've been able to prevent things from happening by listening and never, ever, ever ignore my intuition. It is almost always 100% accurate. But it's amazing. I have this ability. I can think of somebody and I will see them the next day.
Yeah.
That happens thousands of times over and over and over again. So
you are a natural born medium, Courtney. Yep. You are a natural born medium, and that's what you need to be doing. I can sense that from you. And him as well. You guys' connection, your relationship is so special. So special. And he is your biggest fan. Like you said, I feel his love for you is so incredibly strong. And he is always going to be with you and supporting you. That will never stop. Never stop. He will always be your biggest fan. Yeah, I definitely feel that this mediumship thing, you have that natural born ability, and that's something that you need to do.
Agreed.
I would love to. I mean, like, if nothing else, just help another person.
You will. You do it already, but you will in a more, I guess, organized way. When you develop it, it'll come whichever way you choose to develop it will be unique to you. So.
And you're halfway there.
Yeah.
You're already halfway there.
Yeah.
Excuse me. We are going to be doing an episode coming up. I'm not exactly sure when, on mediumship and developing mediumship. And we would love to have you back.
Yes.
Oh, definitely.
And work with you when you feel comfortable.
Yeah, I would definitely love that. The other thing I wanted to add that I didn't get to is talk to him. When he first passed away, people told me to talk to him, and I thought, I can't talk to him. So one day I'm in the car, and I'm like, hi, like a first date. Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, people are telling me to talk to him. I'm like, okay. And we live in the day and age now, you can talk to somebody in the car and people don't think you're half crazy. When I was growing up, if you started talking to yourself in the car, they were going to put you somewhere. So now I literally have conversations with him all the way to work every single morning. There's this bridge, and his mother-in-law laughs at me, but this bridge, you can't hear anything. So if I'm recording our conversation, because I'll record back and forth. And so I just scream at him all the way across the bridge how much I love him. I'm sure he's over there going, oh my God, she's crazy. But I will literally go through the whole day with him of what we have planned. And then when I get to work, I was like, okay, come on, get out of the car. So I just talk to him like he's still there with me.
Yeah.
Not that I'm in an illusion that he's still with me, but he is with me.
Yeah.
And I feel a lot of times that I know if I talk to him, I feel like he comes in closer to me. So when I do that in the mornings, I just know that he's there. And I tease him now. I'm like, you got stuck with me a whole lot more now than you did before you passed away, because now you're with me all the time. But it's interesting. But grief is horrible. Probably one of the worst things as a human we go through.
It is. And the crazy thing about it is that it comes in many different flavors. It doesn't have to, and you think you're done sometimes, and then bang. I remember when my dad died, I kept it together for every time, he was diagnosed, and 3 months later he was gone. So it felt like the longest 3 months and the shortest 3 months of my life at the same time. It was very weird. Mm-hmm. And then I, went through the process and went through funeral and all that. And I thought, now it's back to the real world, and it'll be painful, but there it is. And I remember having a reading with Susanna, and she's like, you're not done grieving yet. And I'm like, I feel like I am. I feel like it's fine. And literally a month later, I had the biggest meltdown. I have never had a meltdown like this before. I almost dissociated and was like, who's crying? Oh, it's me. It was the strangest thing, because I had been numb for so long. I hadn't known that what I was doing was being numb. Like you talked about being numb.
Yeah.
I thought
literally, you can't even feel your own arms.
No, didn't feel anything. And I thought, well, that means my grief is done. Like I had the anticipatory grief because he was sick. But no. It'll come back in waves, in ways that you don't know. And so I was at risk of stifling it, stuffing it down, and not experiencing it until I had that meltdown. And then after that meltdown, lots of things changed.
Well, and there's other forms of grief, because people grieve losses of jobs. They leave, you grieve if you financially lose things. There's all different forms of grief, but people don't acknowledge those forms of grief either.
At all.
You just expect that the only time you're going to grieve is when you lose somebody to death. But when you lose anything, there's a form of grief. And I think sometimes maybe some of us lose more things along our lives to prepare us for the situation of losing a child, a husband, a spouse, a mother, a father. Because if we didn't have those smaller episodes of grief, I don't know if we would make it through a huge episode of grief.
Very true. That's pretty insightful. I would put that in your book.
Yeah. It took me 40 years to grieve for my mother.
Oh, God, yeah.
Because she died right before I graduated from high school, about a week before I graduated. And the year prior, my 12th year in high school, she was in the hospital. So I only saw her twice during that year. And at 18, I was on my own. And I was just kind of catapulted into life. And I was not prepared for life, because she never taught me about it. And so I was in survival mode for a long, long period of time. And I did exactly that, Annalisa. I just stuffed it all down. Yeah. And it wasn't until that she came through 40 years later that not long after that, I went through it was a short grieving process, but I went through a grieving process for her. And that's what we can do to protect ourselves. We can stuff that grief right down, but it's gonna pop up.
It will come back. Yeah.
It's like its own entity. It has a life of its own.
Truly.
And you cannot control it.
Because I was always one of these people. I didn't cry. I've always been that person. I don't cry at movies. I don't cry because it makes my eyes hurt and gives me a headache. Now all of a sudden I'll be standing in the grocery stores and the tears are just rolling down my face. And I'm like, who in the world are you? because that's not you.
Are you?
You know? And in this society too, we look at when I had plenty of time off from work, but my company in itself gives 3 days of bereavement pay. I'm like, are you serious? So you expect somebody from losing a spouse or a child to be able to return to a job in a normal function in 3 days?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I just don't think that there's a lot of understanding. And I think there's not understanding because nobody wants to talk about it. People do not want to talk about death. I was fortunate, in fact, with my husband, Chris, that we had those conversations. I knew what his last wishes were. I knew, how he felt if he passed away or if I passed away. We had those conversations. So I was very blessed in that sense. But this country, we don't want to acknowledge that any of us are going to die. And that's the only two things in life we're guaranteed is birth and death.
And taxes.
Everything in between is, and taxes in between. But I think that's part of it too, is we don't acknowledge the process at all.
That's very true.
Yeah.
I find other countries do. Sorry.
No, you're fine. I was just going to say, I struggle. I have. My dad died like 10, 12 years ago, and I've never grieved for him at all. I've never shed a tear. I think that's because we just didn't have a relationship. But my ex-husband lost his 15-year-old son, and lost is a horrible word because they're not lost, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We need words for these things, like real words. But he was 15 years old and he took his own life. Mm. And he took his own life with a gun that my ex-husband gave him for Christmas 2 months prior to.
Oh, God.
1 month prior to. So my ex-husband is struggling, and Noah's been gone for, 2 years is coming up this coming January, or January 27th of this month is going to be 2 years. And my ex-husband, the guilt that he feels and the grief that he feels, I honestly don't think he's going to make it himself. Mm-hmm. It is so horrible. And speaking of not knowing what to say to a person, I have come to the point, and I have tried to help him through this for the last 2 years. And I have come to a point where I have to just let him do what he needs to do. Because there's nothing that I can say, nothing that I can do that's going to make him feel better. He just feels like it is all his fault, and he takes full responsibility, and I don't know what to say to him. Every time I talk to him, I think I'm going to say the wrong thing.
That's the fear. That's why people step away from you, because they're afraid of saying the wrong thing.
Yeah. I had one of the ladies I work with, and she was probably the best that I had of communicating with me through it all. Is she would just simply call, or she would text me, and she's like, I'm just checking on you today. Mm-hmm. That's what she said to me. And it left me in a situation of, I could say, I'm not having a good day. Today's been bad, or I'm okay today, and it was always this understanding, if you need to, you can call me and talk. But just the simple words is, I'm just checking on you. Or one day she called me and she said, would you take some advice from me? And I said, sure. At this point, I would do anything. She said, when my dad died, I missed him so bad. And she said, get a couple of his outfits that he wore. And she said, it's up to you if they're clean or if they're not. But even if they're clean, she said, go put them in a Ziploc bag. And she said, when you really begin to miss somebody, go open the bag, because their smell is in there. Mm-hmm. And it was like one of those things that really did help, because it makes me feel close to him, like just to have that smell. But it was really comforting. Just, how are you today? And it's very difficult. Sometimes you don't know what to say to anybody. There's days that all you can do is listen, to be honest with you. In a situation like that, not only does he have the grief of losing his child, it's the what if behind it. What if I hadn't bought him that gun? Mm-hmm. What if I hadn't done that?
The reality is he would have found another way.
Yeah. And I've tried to explain that to him too, but nothing I say and nothing anybody says is going to make that guilt that he feels go away. It's just not going to happen.
You have to work through the processes yourself. Unfortunately.
Yeah. And when I'm talking to him on the phone and he's crying and he's saying all these things and I go, I know, but I don't know. And I stop myself every time I go, oh, I know. No, I don't know. I never want to know how that feels, ever want to know how that feels. That has got to be, grief is horrid to go through as a person, I'm sure. I grieved Noah. I grieved him very badly. He was sweetest kid. He's my son's brother. So I remember after, I think he had been gone for a couple of days and I was working in my office at home because I worked from home, and I started thinking about him and I just freaking lost it. I am wailing and I'm saying, why, Noah? Why did you do this? Why did you do this? And he spoke to me. I heard his voice in my head. He said to me, let me get this right. It's been a while since I thought about this. He said, don't you worry your pretty little head. Everything's going to be okay, which made me cry even worse.
Yeah.
But he spoke to me, and my dad spoke to me, actually. My dad spoke to me. He was in the hospital and they were just getting ready to unhook him from everything. And I was at work when I got the call that they had decided to do that. He lived in a different state, so I wasn't there when he passed. But I was just getting ready to go to lunch, and my sister called and said, the doctors are getting ready to unplug everything. And I said, okay. And then I went to lunch, and I went and got in my car and I drove to a park. I sat in the parking lot and I said, I was talking to him and I said, Dad, it's okay for you to go. You've struggled a long time and it's okay for you to go. We'll take care of Mom. Everything's going to be okay. Got 7 kids. We're all going to take care of everything. Don't you worry about anybody. It's time for you to go. And he spoke to me and he said, I know, Tara. And it was his voice in my head as if he was sitting in the seat next to me. I know, Tara. And within an hour, I think an hour and a half, he was gone. So they can speak to you and they are there. Well, we know it, and you can talk to them and they hear you. Absolutely. 100%.
I've given up saying, I'm sorry for your loss.
Yeah.
And replaced it with, I'm sorry for your pain.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Pain is the blinding feeling that you have is pain.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah, definitely one thing you have to really focus on and take care of is yourself.
Yeah.
Because if you're not careful, not turning to drugs or alcohol to numb that pain.
Oh, God.
But really taking care of yourself, just because somebody's gone doesn't mean that you won't live on. But if you don't take care of yourself, you won't live on. And so being able to find a way to make sure that you're eating, that you're sleeping, that you're handling situations. I still do not like to do a lot of stuff socially, and that's fine. I'm okay with that. But I still make sure that you get up, I get dressed, I go to work. I don't ever spend a whole day in bed. Those types of things are really, really important because you can get lost very quickly if you're not careful and not taking care of yourself.
I really admire you for being able to do that, Courtney. That's a lot of people don't. They like my ex-husband, he falls into this pit and he can't get out. And now, and he's drinking to hide the pain. So you're a very strong woman.
Thank you. Yeah, it's definitely, but you have to make those decisions, and those are decisions. And some people they're not strong enough to make that decision, which is the sad part. And I work in drug and alcohol rehab. So, I see like death every single day of my life. And I see these situations, and I now know when I see the mom who comes in whose daughter overdosed and died last night, and the pain that she's experiencing, which I had never experienced on that level, but now I have a whole different understanding of the world that she's getting ready to go through. So in that way, it's been a blessing for me because I feel like I've been able to, really help some people out along the way that I made, because I couldn't have understood half of where they were if I hadn't gone through what I've gone through.
That's something that we really focus on this podcast, is that we need to feel. We need to feel our feelings and honor our feelings and feel the pain and not mask the pain, not bypass the pain, and really deal with it and have it work for you and speak to your pain. I'm a huge advocate for speaking to your body and your cells and your organs. And this is not very different to talk to your pain and ask what you can do for it. I think you have to get to a certain point in your grief process to be able to do that, to get to that point. But some of the things that were coming through, Courtney, as Annalisa was telling you things about your husband and bringing him through, is, again, that you were an incredibly strong woman, and that everything that you're going through is very, very much for you and unique to you, a spiritual transformation. And that one day after you go through the whole grieving process and you honor which you are, honoring your grief and honoring who you are and honoring your husband, is that when you get to the other side of this, the world of being able to connect with not only him, but other deceased people and being able to help people is just going to skyrocket. And I can't say strongly enough how proud he is of you.
Yeah.
And he is with you every step of the way. Just again, it makes me tear up.
He wants to make it a party.
There you go.
That's what I get from him. It's like, no. This is a party. We're going to have a party.
Not crying. Got a party going on. Yeah. But I would love to be a part of anything that you guys do. I think it's just
absolutely
fabulous. And I'm so glad I found you guys, and like, it was just kind of a random thing, but it's really, really been a blessing. And if I can help any one person with any one word I say, it means the world to me.
Yeah.
I always say, you never know, the smallest smile can change someone's life. And you never know what the person beside you in the grocery store is going through. I mean, I stood in line yesterday and I have nobody in that store had any idea of my story, nor did I have an idea of theirs.
Right.
You know, you never know.
Are you open to having people reach out to you?
Yeah, definitely.
Do you have an email that you can share?
I do. It's write, just like a letter, writenono@gmail.com. So it's writenono@gmail.com, because my niece and nephew call me Aunt No-No, so.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, that's so cute.
Yes. But.
All right. Is there anything else that you would like to impart before we close?
Just that anybody can do it. You just have to have faith in yourself. Just believe in who you are. Believe in what they send you. Believe it. Believe that there is more than what we see here in this world.
Right.
And don't anybody change that thought process or knock you down. Even if you're the only one who can believe it, believe that there is more than what we see in our world.
Absolutely.
And I think, just know that you can get through anything. And today is today, and tomorrow's tomorrow, and yesterday was yesterday, and don't combine any of them. When we go from 1 hour to the next, it's a new, fresh start. And sometimes when you're in that grieving process, it is getting from minute to minute or hour to hour or day to day. For me, it's gone from hour to hour to day to now I'm in a week. Like I got one more week. And I think that's probably the most important thing to do is time does pass and it gets further and further apart. It will not get easier, but it will get further and further apart.
Yeah. Annalisa or Terry, do you have any questions or anything that you would like to add?
I just want to say, Courtney, it was very nice to meet you. I think you're an amazing person. You've got a lot to give the world. So when you're ready, get out there and do it, because there's going to be people that you're going to be helping for sure.
No doubt. No doubt.
You're a very special woman.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me as well. I really appreciate it. I enjoyed it very much.
It's our honor.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
All right. In closing, if this conversation touched something tender in you, you're not broken and you're not behind, that you're human. Love doesn't end with death, and neither does the relationship. Sometimes it changes form, pace, and language. I want to acknowledge my co-host, Annalisa Bastiani, psychic medium, singer, actor, Terry Scalia, medium, channel, and ET experiencer. So thank you so much for listening with care for our guest and for yourself. We appreciate you and love you, and thank you for being here.
Thank you.
All righty. Courtney, huh?
Subscribe.
Oh, yes. Are you still recording?
Yeah.
Oh,
subscribe,
Oh,
share.
Share, comment. Just get the house keeping done.
I'm going to keep all this in, you guys.
Good. Because we're the messy hippie chicks. Nothing ever goes as planned.
I know. You know, you just have to roll with us.
yes, that's true.
We're all Gen X. Let's just watch the world burn. It's okay.
Yeah, what the hell?
No, I'm a reconstituted boomer.
There you go. All right.
That's where the 2.0 comes in. I ain't done yet.
Not done.
I'm just getting started.
Exactly.
All right, you guys. Courtney, love you, girl.
Thank you very much. Love you too. And you guys have a great afternoon.
We will.
I hope you eat your groceries along the way.
New groceries. Oh, Lord.
New groceries.
I'm still recording,
the old ones back.
I don't want the new. Yeah, I don't want them back now. No matter where they are, I don't really want them back now. That was crazy.
Oh, don't want any.
Y'all have
cooties.
a great afternoon.
You too.
Well, we'll be talking to you soon and
Okay.
having you
Sounds
back
great.
soon also. I think
Thank
I can
you very
speak for everybody that we love you and thank you so much.
Thank you. Y'all have a great one.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm stopping now.
Okay.
Thank you so much for spending time with us today. If this episode resonated with you, please follow, turn on notifications, and share it on your favorite social platforms. And tag us so we can grow this community together. We love you, we appreciate you, and we will see you next time.